Welcome to Stories of Recovery, a MARR Recovery Resources production from MARR Addiction Treatment Centers. I'm Matt Shedd. Nick was a professional pilot, and he knew he had an alcohol problem. But despite his genuine love for flying and knowing that his career was in jeopardy, he simply could not stop himself from drinking. Not only could he not stop, because of his career, he felt like he couldn't ask for help either. Eventually, through the help of his friends, he found his way to MARR and started to access the help that he desperately needed but was afraid to ask for.
In a sense, I have gratitude for these consequences because that's what got me here. Because if I hadn't gotten here, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I mean, I have a huge success story from MARR. MARR has changed my life. MARR has saved my life because I was dying.
He talks about how the professionals program at MARR helped him get his career back on track. And he also speaks about his current role as a MARR employee working as the Alumni Relations Coordinator and why he feels it can be so helpful to people to stay connected to MARR after they complete their treatment.
So I spent the better part of 7 years in undergraduate for many reasons. Dropping classes, drinking way too much. You know, I dropped so many classes. It's ridiculous.
At that time when all that was going on, you know, it's taking you a while to finish, you're dropping courses, did you have a sense that, oh, maybe I have a drinking problem? Or did it seem like other things?
No, definitely everybody knew I had a drinking problem, including myself. I wouldn't admit to it.
Could you admit it to yourself or?
To a certain degree, but you know, you always try and justify it as I'm just in college, man. I'm just partying.
Yeah.
And after college, I just haven't grown out of the college partying experience yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's still acceptable, right?
Yeah.
But no, I was always the drunkest guy at the party. I was always taking it too far. I was always passing out. I was always, you know, hurting myself or saying something that I wish I could take back the next day.
Mm-hmm.
The consequences started pretty early. I just didn't realize it.
Wow.
You know, I got in 2005 when I was just turned 20 years old, I got my first DWI. And even that was not a wake-up call because my brother picked me up from jail and I went right home and started drinking again, you know? Can you imagine that? Like I thought like I got a DWI, which is something I never would have gotten, right? I told myself I'm not the kind of guy to get a DWI. I don't go to jail. I don't get DWIs. I'm not a criminal. I'm not any of these things. But lo and behold, I pushed those boundaries a little bit and got my first DWI and drank basically the moment I got out of jail. Mm-hmm. And that would happen more times in my life. You know, here are consequences from drinking, yet right after those consequences, I'm going to proceed to drink again. Try and forget about them, right?
Yeah.
It makes everything go away. Really, it's just, for me, it was just delaying the inevitable pain. You know, just pushing it back and making it worse. There were consequences, for sure, but, you know, I would always pull it together at the last minute, you know, for the most part. There were big periods of unemployment in there, of, you know, depression, of you know, so many things. You know, but I would pull it together to, you know, get a job together or you know, a career going or school or something. It was never like I need to stop drinking, right? It was that I got to slow down, right? I need to moderate this. You know, drink like a gentleman, as the book says, which is not possible in my life. I've come to realize that is just impossible. Yeah, I always knew that I needed to stop drinking, but I couldn't. Mm-hmm. And I would tell myself, I'm just not going to drink during the week, right? Mm-hmm. Or I'm not going to drink past this certain point, or I'm not going to drink before 5, or I'm only going to drink on the weekends, or, you know, there's all these different methods we tell ourselves that are acceptable to control our drinking. And, you know, I would set up these boundaries for myself, and I would always push them. I mean, so quickly. that would just go right out the window.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only drinking on the weekends. But Friday, that's kind of the weekend, right? So we can start, and Monday, Sunday, night, when you're coming into treatments and things like that, they ask you, have you ever blacked out? I'm like, well, that was every day, man, which is something weird to say out loud. When I was drinking, I was blacking out, or it was not a successful drinking night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, it kind of hurts to say that out loud.
Absolutely, man. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what your training was like as a pilot, and then your career as a pilot as you're also trying to manage this drinking problem.
Okay. Yeah, I started flight training in 2011. And let me back up. I've always loved aircraft. My dad always, as a kid, took me to air shows, and I loved every second of it. My grandpa on my dad's side was a private pilot, just for having fun, traveling around for his business. And my dad tried it for a little while. But I've always been interested in aviation, and I was coaching high school rowing and some collegiate rowing after college. And this was around 2011, and I would see these aircraft fly by over the lake. I just wanted to be up there, and I just love traveling, love flying. And so I talked to my dad, and I said, I want to be a pilot. That's what I'm going to do. And he said, all right, cool, do it. The traditional way a lot of pilots get started is going through the military, and they train you. But I went the other way and just walked into a flight school one day, and there was a guy cleaning one of the little Cessnas there, and I said, hey, I'm looking for the flight school. He said, you're it. You're here. You want to get started? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And a lot of years and a lot of money later, I became a pilot. And it's so rewarding, and it's what I need to be doing. When you found that thing that you're supposed to be doing, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel at home up in the sky. It's just a feeling like no other. I think one of the things that drew me to alcohol actually was the freedom that I thought that it gave me. And the freedom that I get while I'm flying is kind of similar to those feelings. Alcohol would eventually take that freedom away and my flying away from me, unfortunately. But through recovery, it's coming back. So I went to flight school, and I struggled a little bit. Obviously, I was drinking very heavily. And the process was you become a private pilot, you become an instrument pilot, you add multi-engines in there somewhere, and then commercial, and then you become a flight instructor, and then you teach for a while, and then you get the big job. And that's what I did. It took me a long time to do that because I was just so deep in addiction, just drinking so much. It was impossible to make appointments, and to do the studying and to put in the work. I eventually did enough to get by, like I did in high school and like I did in college. I graduated. I got the pilot's license, but it took me quite a long time. And I eventually did become a flight instructor, and I was a flight instructor for a year, and I loved every second of it. It was awesome. Absolutely loved it.
You said eventually you get the big job. Was that the big job?
No, that was the intermediate job.
Okay.
So I had some little jobs, that I would pick up here and there. Some of them I even did for free, just because I would we're flying a jet. Let me get in on that, and I'd fly the right seat, which is the co-pilot seat. And sometimes I'd do that for free, and sometimes they'd pay me a little bit. And I was a flight instructor, making, $15 an hour, which at the time I thought was pretty good, but, it was okay. And then after being a flight instructor for almost a year, I got this job flying on-demand cargo in a town called San Marcos, Texas, south of Austin. And that was the big job. Everybody was jealous at my flight school because, man, I was moving up. And I thought it was great. I got the big job. They're paying me a huge salary and fly on-demand freight. And we'd fly to Mexico in the middle of the night. It was always in the middle of the night when they called because I was on call. So this was a great great job for an alcoholic, right? To be on call 24 hours a day, except on the weekends. Well, one weekend a month I had to be on call. And they would always call at 2 a.m. It was always 2 a.m. You're going to Mexico. You're picking up auto parts and you're flying to Detroit. That's kind of how it went. But we had all these flight tracking apps, so we knew where the planes were, and we knew where we are in the pecking order as far as who was up, which crew was up number one to fly next. So I would really I honed that skill in to try and figure out when I could and couldn't drink. And it started out being okay, but eventually I was missing some flights and things like that because I pushed those boundaries again. I set these boundaries up for myself and I pushed them. And they'd call and I wouldn't answer, and I'd miss that flight. So yeah, it was somewhat of a stressful job as well, but it was a great job.
Looking back now, were there times that you were flying in terms of like the amount of alcohol in your body where you're like, ooh, I probably shouldn't have been flying?
Oh yeah, 100%. There were definitely times where I was flying an aircraft slightly intoxicated. Yeah. And I can own that, and it's tough to hear because that's something, again, that I told myself that I would never do. I would never get behind that yoke of that aircraft, having been hungover or drunk or either. The rule is 8 hours bottle to throttle. 8 hours bottle to throttle.
That's like the standard
that's
industry rule.
Yeah, that's what the FAA says, 8 hours bottle to throttle. And that's probably for a normal person who has a couple drinks and then goes to bed for 8 hours and then gets up and goes to the airport and touches that throttle 8 hours later, right? And are totally fine. That's not the guy who's drinking 1.5 liters of vodka and then sort of sleeping and then getting on the flight deck, who's not okay. That was me, really pushing the boundaries. And like I said, that's something that I said that I would never do, is be intoxicated or hungover and fly an aircraft. And I did many times. I remember one time, the first time I ever did it, I had my private pilot's license, and I flew home to the Woodlands where my dad lives from Austin. It's just like a 45-minute little trip. And I was flying a 1956 Cessna Skyhawk straight tail, and I loved it because it was old and it had just the standard 6 gauges, and that's it. And it was awesome. And my parents and everybody were so scared that I was flying that because I was the only person at the entire flight school who would fly that plane, because everyone's like, that plane is like 60 years old. I'm not touching that plane. I was like, but it's $90 an hour, including fuel. It's great. And I flew home to see my dad and had a great weekend. Obviously drank way too much because I'd get into his booze. And, I can't tell you how many times I've cleaned out his liquor cabinet. He just stopped buying it after a while. But I remember I was so hungover the next day, and I called the flight school. Or I think I texted because my brain was hurting so bad. And they're like, we got to have the plane back. Someone actually wants to use it. And I flew a little intoxicated for the first time. It scared the crap out of me. It literally terrified me. And I said even then, I did this once. I'm never going to do it again. But I would do it again, Matt. I did it many times. And it just shows you the power of addiction that pushes you to do things that you never thought that you'd do. And you said you'd never do. Yeah, it's just powerful. It's unfortunate. A lot of shame in that.
Are your superiors or people in your company, are they starting to get a sense like something's not all the way right with Nick? Maybe they don't know about the drinking in particular, but maybe are they starting to get concerned?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, my boss, I remember, and it's funny because I've still never met that guy. I worked for the company for 2 years. I never met him because it's, a pilot job is not you don't go to an office and meet with your boss. You just talk to him on the phone. But I never met him, and he would say, is there something going on that I need to know about? And I'd say, absolutely not. I've just been having trouble sleeping. I'm on this new sleeping medication. That's why I'm not answering the phone at 8 a.m, not because I drank an entire bottle of vodka last night and I can't get up before noon. It's that, I had to lie. You can't let people in because especially as a professional, there's so much riding on everything, and you can't tell people the truth. Because there are all these ramifications that are coming if you, right? Or you think. I think it's that's the thought, that as a professional, I can't let people in and show that I'm weak and show that I have these issues, because they're gonna fire me, or they're gonna take my license away, or they're gonna, fill in the blank. And that's actually not the truth. My boss said, if there is an issue going on, because it seems like there is, we're gonna help you through this. And I'd say, no, everything's great. I'll be on that flight, tonight. I'm ready. Let's do it. Let me go run around the block a couple times to try and feel better and maybe sweat some of this booze out first. But everything's great. I'm a professional. I'm going to get it done. And as a pilot, there was such a need for me to complete the mission, right? And as a professional in general, just to do the job well, that I would not let people in. I would not show that I was having a hard time, because I needed to do a good job. But there was no possible way for me to do the good job, because I was just so deep in the drinking. So everybody, and not only my boss was concerned, the other pilots that I would fly with were also concerned. Because again, just like in high school and college, I was always the drunkest guy there. So we worked hard and we played hard at this job. We would fly all night long, and we'd be working for 14, 16 hours. We'd only be able to fly for 10 of those, but we'd be moving cargo around and doing all these different things. And when we landed, we would party. We would have little hotel parties. We'd meet up with other crews and, fill the bathtub with ice and have a little hotel party. And that was acceptable. But everybody else would go to bed, right? Mm-hmm. And what would I do is I'd walk down to the corner store and buy some more and just have an extra. Oh, it's just another 6-pack. Well, we already had a 12-pack, so I was always the one taking it a little too far. The work hard, play hard was acceptable, but I played double, and it came back to bite me many, many times. And there was a lot of people that were concerned for me.
So when you're getting those calls from your boss, is there just kind of this low level of anxiety, or maybe a high level of anxiety? I don't know. What was it like? Like, did you sense this could get bad pretty soon here? What was going on for you internally?
Well, it was terrifying, because I was like, he's going to find it. He's going to know. I can't have him know, right? And it sucks, because they're offering you this help, and it's out there, and I couldn't take it. It was a huge internal struggle for me, because I knew I had a problem. But I couldn't let them know about it, because I thought, and a lot of these things were these preconceived notions that I had, that if I told them exactly what was going on, I was going to get blacklisted. They're going to strip me of everything. They're going to, I'm going to be known in the industry as that drunk over there that they can't hire. But I was all of those. I was the drunk that they shouldn't hire. Maybe they did. But I had all these preconceived notions of things that would go bad, but things were already worse than they could ever be. And they were only going to get worse. Because as I continued to drink, the consequences just got worse. If I had taken help a long time ago, things might have been different. I don't know if I was in a place to accept help. I don't think. I think I needed a lot of these consequences to get me to a point of willingness to accept help. That was hard. And that's a thing, throughout this process, I've struggled with a lot of shame with my past about things that I've done. And just coming to terms with that and just realizing that is my past and I can't change it. Yeah, because in addiction, there's a lot of shame.
It's a lot of shame, a lot of constant stress, it sounds like to me, of trying to hide something that's getting increasingly bigger and interfering more with your work. Trying to keep that hidden, it would just seem like a constant source of tension that's kind of just ratcheting up and up.
It is. And even back when the first day I started flight school to become a professional pilot, I knew I'm too big of an alcoholic for this endeavor. This could go bad. And here I am. It did go bad. I knew it. I knew it was happening. And but I was like, I can get it under control. That's the fallacy, right, of an alcoholic, is that I can control this. Is that I can drink like a normal human being, and I will figure out the formula, because I'm a smart guy. I can figure out this formula of if I have this discipline, if I have this much money, if I have this schedule, if I don't do this and I do this, I will figure out the formula where I can drink like a normal person and still be successful in this. And that is false. That, as an alcoholic, I cannot figure that out. I can't drink like a normal person. It's impossible. There was a lot of stress, and trying to hide that was like a full-time job, trying to act normal and trying to act like I had everything going on and together, and I did not. Everybody around me knew. Everybody around me was concerned. Some were saying it. Some I would convince that, no, they're just crazy, right? I'm fine. I do drink too much, but I got it under control, Look at what I'm doing, right? I got a salary. I got my own place. I had all the things. I had the job. I had the car. I had the girl. I had the apartment. I had, all these great things, material things that everybody wants. I would proceed to dismantle that one by one very quickly. But on the outside, it seemed like I had it together. It seemed like there was a problem, but it seemed like I could sort of manage it.
That's the thing. I think in certain ways it might be harder for professionals that are successful in their careers to get into recovery, because you have all these things to point to, like, well, something doesn't feel right, but I got this, and this going for me, so I must not have a problem, And it's right. Like that. It's, in a way, I think it might be easier once everything's gone to be like, okay, maybe I have a problem,
It is, and I think that's what it takes sometime, which is unfortunate, that you got to burn it all down to try and rebuild it all back up. It is unfortunate, yeah, because I did have all those things, and it did take me bringing them down, and because the crisis that brought me into MARR was a second DWI.
Kind of set the scene for that. When did you get that second DUI? What was going on?
Okay, so it's February of 2018, right? And I'm on a flight, and we land in Mexico in the middle of the night, and we're just getting one pallet of cargo, and it's some auto parts, and we're shooting up to Cleveland, Ohio for the night, and it's the flight manifest says it's 100 pounds, and I'm like, okay, I don't need to get out the little skates and to push the freight in. I can just muscle it back and tie it down. It turns out it was 750 pounds, and I tried to muscle it, threw my back out, just destroyed my back. Tried to hide that from the company, just like my alcoholism. And they finally were like, what is going on with you? Because people were saying I couldn't even push the rudder pedals down. My back hurt so much. And they're like, you got to see a doctor. You got to, so they put me on workers' comp for an entire year. Right. So I didn't fly, and they paid almost my full salary for an entire year. And guess what I did for that year? I did some drinking. I sat at home. I had the surgery and fixed my back, and everything was great. But I did a lot of drinking, and they even cleared me to go back to work. And I said, you know what? I'm good. And they said, you can reapply for your job. And I said, no, I'm good. I'm enjoying this.
Mm-hmm.
I like sitting on the couch and drinking, which is just crazy. So I hurt my back, was on workers' comp for a year, and then just kept drinking. And almost another year went by of me just sitting around. And then finally, so I didn't have the job anymore, and I wasn't flying, and I didn't have the money coming in because the money ran out because I was cleared to fly again, but I didn't go back to work. So the money stopped. But I had saved up, so I was good to go as far as continuing on down the path of addiction. Then the girl left. She had had enough. And then my drinking increased a little more. I don't like to blame it on any of these things, because it definitely was not her fault that I kept drinking more. I was just like, man, I've lost everything. But I hadn't, right? Because there's always a deeper, rock bottom is, you hear that word thrown around a lot is, rock bottom. And there's always another bottom. There's always a lower one. So New Year's Eve was coming up, 2019. And some of my old high school buddies were getting together back home in the Woodlands. So it was about a 3-hour drive from where I was living near Austin. And was going to go back and drive into town to see them for the weekend. And so it sounds crazy to say this. So I was about to go on a 3-hour drive. So why not have a few drinks before, just to get the day started out right. And drove to Houston, and about 2/3 of the way there, stopped at a gas station, got some more drinks, kept it going, and then just kind of blacked out and crashed my car. I hit a couple, hit their car, and airbags went off, totaled the car. And just as an aside, I had just taken my car off full coverage insurance to save money so I could have more money for alcohol, because that money was running out that I had saved up. So I needed that extra $100 a month to buy booze. So I'd taken off my car off full coverage. So the car's now gone. And I'm sitting there getting arrested for my second DWI, which I said I'd never get the first. And here we are on number 2. And they said in Texas, they have these weekends called no refusal, where it's a period of days around a holiday where even if you say, I'm not doing the breathalyzer, they're going to take your blood. So I just didn't. I just said, let's go take my blood. And they took me to a hospital, took my blood, checked me out, and took me to jail, where I slept on the floor, concrete floor, for 16 hours. And here I am at a low point again. Yeah, lost everything. Now I lost the car, now I really was in trouble, because I thought if they barely wanted to hire me as a pilot with 1 DWI, what are they going to do with 2? My career is officially over. So I got out of jail 16 hours later, bailed myself out. I had my best friend pick me up, and what did I do? Went home and drank, man. It's New Year's Eve. I had planned to hang out with those friends. I didn't hang out with those friends. I drank by myself, alone. A little pity party, saying my life is over. My career is over. I've lost everything. My health is failing also. I haven't talked about that. I was almost 300 pounds. And, high blood pressure, almost diabetes, all kinds of, just not doing well. everything. I just destroyed everything. So let's get drunk. Not fun.
So then how did MARR come into the picture?
So I posted a picture, as you do, of my crashed car on Facebook, and I just thought it was like, oh, the car's gone, and everybody, I didn't know that everybody knew what it was from. I just thought they thought, oh, I got in a little car accident. No, everything's fine. The car is just obliterated. It's bad. And my friends and family are like, oh my God. One of my best friends in the world, his name's Patrick. He said, this is not good. Nick's been going off the rails here for a long time. We need to help this guy. And I actually had helped Patrick find treatment. So I went to treatment my first time in 2015 at a place in Houston, a 30-day inpatient, 30-day outpatient. And I had almost a year of sobriety from that. And I wasn't working any type of program or anything. I was just being sober. I made work my alcohol at that time, my drug. I just worked, and that's how I maintained almost a year of sobriety. So afterwards, I was feeling so great, and I was like, my buddy Patrick needs help. So I helped him out at that time in 2015 and turned his life around a little bit. And here we are 5 years later, and I'm back in the dumps, and he decided that I needed some help and got my friends and family together, and he and another buddy staged a little intervention for me. And he had found MARR for me. His family lives in Atlanta part-time, and one of their family counselors has volunteered here before and knew about MARR. So my friend Patrick comes, and my friend Lucas, they have a little intervention at my apartment. And, of course, I had a few drinks before that because I was like, hey, we're going to hang out. I didn't know that what they were coming to do. I didn't even know my friend Lucas was in from New York City. He flew from New York City just for that couple-hour intervention. It's crazy. And they talked to me and said, you got an issue, and we're going to help you. And one of the coolest things that he did was he had a bunch of my friends and family write me letters. So there's about 15 letters in there. And it's just people telling me the effect that I've had on their lives, and how my addiction was hurting them. And I tell you what, man, those letters were awesome. I still read them all the time. When I was in treatment in phase 1 and 2, I read them all the time. Because you don't know what kind of effect you have on people until they tell you. And most people never tell you, right? And some of those letters, oh man, they just mean the world to me. And it just showed me that people cared. It was pretty incredible. Yeah, you just don't know the effect you have on people until they tell you.
So what are you feeling in the room at that time when you're confronted with all this information, the letters and all that?
So I was just, at that point, I think I was so broken because everything, I just torn everything down, that I had the willingness to say yes. Because there was just nothing left. There was for me, I was just, and I think I was screaming out for help, but I wasn't saying anything. Does that make any sense? I knew so much that I needed help, but I couldn't ask for it. I don't know if it was because I'm a professional, because I'm a man, because I'm just a human being who can't ask for help, but I could not ask for help. But I needed it so much. And I was just in this hole, and I couldn't see out. And really, I think all I needed was just the sight of a hand coming down to help me. And my friend Patrick was in that in just the right spot as one of my best friends to offer that. And he just reached his hand out and I grabbed it. And I don't think I saw the light because I saw, man, this is going to be terrible. But it's in that moment, I just said, I have nothing. You know, I'm willing to try anything. And they said, we got this place called MARR. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. And I was like, I don't really like Atlanta. They said, no, well, this one's going to help you get your pilot's license back. They help pilots all the time. They've been doing it for 45 years. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, well, all right, we'll give this place MARR a shot. And that was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my whole life. Is just having that little bit of willingness to accept the help that I needed.
What are you thinking, feeling when you're on that plane going to MARR? Is it like my career's over?
Well, yeah. I mean, I did think my career was over, but I thought, you know, we'll give MARR a shot at getting it back. I didn't know that it's going to be like, you're going to do all these things, and you're going to get it back. And I still don't have it back, by the way. I mean, I've done a lot of things to get there, and it's still pending, but it's looking really good. I had all these things that I had all these preconceived notions of what I thought I needed to do. And they were all wrong. Throughout this whole process, I've learned that my way is not the way. My will gets me into places that are bad, that I shouldn't be at.
What was your first day like at MARR?
So my first day was on a Wednesday, and I got here, and Wednesday's lake day, by the way. So everybody comes here early in the morning and gets meds and hangs out for a bit, and then everybody carpools up to our lake property on Lake Allatoona, and we have some meetings up there and breakfast and play volleyball all day, and it's just a fantastic. Wednesday's the best day because it breaks up the week of feeling school. So, you know, Monday and Tuesday you got feeling school and you're in classes and groups all day, and Thursday and Friday is the same thing, and Wednesday is going up to Lake Day. It's a great day. So that was my first day, and got here, and MARR was full at that time. I think there was somewhere around 30 clients in the men's center, and it was just crazy. Just everybody introducing myself. They made me feel very welcome. I just felt very much at home here. I mean, I was scared out. I mean, so scared, you know, a lot of fear. What have I gotten myself into? But all the guys made it really comfortable, and I had a great first day. I didn't know what the hell was going on for the better part of a week, you know. So I just kind of followed my roommates around and did what they did. And that's kind of the story of my recovery is doing what the guys before me have done who have found success.
Were there moments at MARR where you could feel like a shift in terms of like, oh, this might actually work for me? Like this might be the thing that helps me?
There were a lot of moments like that. And I'll tell you about the moment where they talk about a kind of a white light moment. And I had a moment, something like that. And that was in group. There's this. We use several projects in phase 1 and 2. One is the life story, where you tell your life story. You write it down over several weeks, and then you present it. And another is called the 39s, and it's the first step inventory. And that's the first step of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is admitting that you are powerless against alcohol and your life had become unmanageable. And we list 39 examples of that. And I, over almost 2 hours, read all 39 of mine aloud. And that's an event where I screwed things up and how I felt about it and those consequences from that event. And there were 39 of them. And that was tough to do. to sit there with 30 people looking at you and telling them all these terrible things that you've done, kind of some things that I never told anybody that I'd done. And I shared that with people. And that's the thing about vulnerability, is that you think that it's going to push everybody away, but it draws everybody even in closer. And it's just an odd thing. And so I try and live my life that way and be vulnerable nowadays. Anyways, so I'm doing the 39s assignment, and I'm just sitting there, and one of my last 39s was very hard for me, and it was about how a friend of mine, my friend Karen, had reached out to me once. And she was deep in addiction. We were both at the same time, and she reached out to me for help, and I basically ignored her. I was not able to help her because I couldn't even help myself. And a month after she reached out to me, she actually passed away. She overdosed and died. And that was really tough for me at the time, plunging me deeper into addiction. But I was sharing about that and how I had such shame from not being able to help her. But I couldn't help her. And I sat there in front of these 30 men and I cried. And it was so powerful, just showing that vulnerability to these men. And it was at that moment that I figured out that I can never drink again. I just listed 39 huge examples, and one was that one of my best friends passed away. And I just listed all these things to these men, and I just realized I can never drink again, And I think that was one of the gifts that MARR gave me, was knowing that I can't ever drink again. And there's a lot of relief in that, actually. Just knowing that when I drink, bad things happen. And when I drink, there's not one. It's all. It's everything. Yeah, it was in that moment that I realized I can never drink again. And for a lot of people, the thought of never drinking again is huge. And for me, it was that case. The thought of never having a drink again in my life is just impossible. That just can't happen. I mean, drinking is such a huge part of my life. I love every second of it. That's what I do, and the thought of that, you can't get around it. But if you break it down to one day at a time, even smaller, one hour at a time, it's manageable. But it was in that moment that I realized I can never drink again. And I say it was a gift that MARR gave me because I don't think that I could have maybe I couldn't have gotten that somewhere else, but I got it here at MARR, a place that I now consider home, which is crazy to me.
Had you not gone through that experience, as difficult as it was, but also I'm sure it sounds like a kind of cathartic release too at the same time. Had you not done that, you wouldn't be able to share with us now, about so openly, like that experience of sharing with those 30 guys, doing the step one inventory in front of them, kind of laid the foundation for this and so many other things in your life, I'm sure. But, and I love how you described that very counterintuitive experience of your mind's telling you, if I share this, everyone's going to run out of the room.
Right.
But then you do it, and then everyone feels closer, and they care about you more. It's like you have to experience that. You can't read about it. You can't hear a lecture about it. You have to experience it because it goes against everything that our minds tell us about vulnerability. And,
100%. I had all these preconceived notions of what recovery was, and they've all been smashed. I mean, totally. especially the vulnerability thing is, yeah, you think that it's going to, just like you said, make everybody run away, and it just draws everybody in closer. And after that first step inventory assignment, everybody came up to me and gave me a hug, all these guys, and I needed those hugs, and it was great. A lot of people, my family included, keep saying, don't you wish you could just take it back and not drink before that drive? And I say, well, yes, because then I wouldn't be dealing with these DWIs and things. But it's what got me to MARR. So in a sense, I have gratitude for these consequences because that's what got me here. Because if I hadn't gotten here, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And where I'm at today is fantastic. I have a huge success story from MARR. MARR has changed my life. MARR has saved my life because I was dying. Initially, it's the sense of community you get here. And that goes throughout the entire process. And it's huge. And it's sharing your experience and sharing your struggles with these men, which is to all my instincts and training tell me not to do that, right? Everything tells me to close off, to live by myself, to not open up to anybody. But here it's celebrated. That's what you do. You say, hey, can I bare my soul to you for a second? Can I tell you what's going on with my life? Which is so counterintuitive again. And so, not what I'm used to doing, and everybody's accepting of it. And the community is so strong. And you just go through this process with people, and you become so close so fast, and you share in the struggles and you share in the pain, but you also share in the joy, And one of the things I learned at MARR is kind of the value of sharing those things, the therapeutic value of just saying things out loud or sharing it with just another individual, not the openness you get at MARR and the self-realizations that you experience is just amazing. I wouldn't trade my experience here for anything. And I wish I had better answers to say what it is. What is that MARR magic? What is that secret sauce that MARR has? And I don't know. I think it's the community. I think it's being able to be vulnerable with people. And people that you would have never shared time with outside of here, right? Some are other professionals, some are, from all walks of life. And some people that I thought I'd never hang out with are some of my best friends today. And being able to share and be vulnerable with them is pretty amazing.
Can you say a little bit about the professionals program and what specifically that provides in terms of treatment?
Yeah, the professionals program at MARR is wonderful. It's called ARP for short. It stands for Atlanta Recovering Professionals. And it's a set of groups mainly that, like-minded people are together, professionals. On Tuesday nights, we have small groups where it's pilots and medical professionals. And, they kind of separate us into professions for one group, and then we have a big group together. So it's another group, but it just has a different feel about it. We talk about some different things. And it's really helped me just to kind of workshop different things that I'm going through, different struggles, So being a pilot and having 2 DWIs, I was pretty much convinced my career was over, and they have shown me that it's not. So MARR's helped me set up the appointments and do all the different testing that I needed to do, and set up professional monitoring, and getting with all these different people that are helping me put this packet together to send to the FAA to say, please allow this man to be a pilot again. And they're going to do that. And it's going to be fantastic. I'm going to have to be on this professional monitoring for a long time and do these groups. But it's really doing all the things that I should be doing anyway, right? To maintain my sobriety and to be the best person that I can be. But MARR has facilitated me in setting up all these things and has given me a lot of hope that one day I will fly again. whether it be professional or just for fun. I hope it's professionally, but I've accepted that it might not be, but it's looking really good.
Did you think MARR was going to work when you said yes?
I don't know. I don't think I even thought that far. I was just thinking about, what do I need to do in the meantime before I get on that plane? And it's funny, I tried to delay getting here a lot. I was like, oh, I got all these things. And that's a funny thing about it's, you think you got all these things going on, and that all these things, you think that the life is going to stop when you leave and things aren't going to get done. But what did I have going on? Nothing. So when I came to MARR, the apartment was going to be fine. All these things were going to work themselves out without me intervening. You think we have all this control, and take that control away, and everything seems to work out just fine.
So tell us about working at MARR now and your role and what that entails.
Yeah, so I'm now the current Alumni Relations Coordinator. That's my job title, and it involves a lot of things. The traditional role of keeping alumni involved and planning events and social media and making phone calls. But we're also changing it a little bit to include outcomes data and follow-ups and things like that. And one of my goals here as the alumni coordinator is to really involve alumni as much as possible, and I think it's key to success is I think it's really important for clients when they're in phase 1 and 2 treatment to see that, people still want to come back here and hang out at MARR, and that they're having fun in sobriety and they're successful. I think that's important for people to see. And one of the things that really stuck out to me when I just showed up was a couple of alumni who were coming for, I think, on the Saturday professionals meetings and stuff. They remembered my name. And I don't know why that was such a big deal, but I remember just walking around being like, yeah, that guy remembered my name. That was such a big deal. And he's such a successful alumni, man. I want what he has, is what I was thinking. So if alumni keep coming around, we can show that life is good on the other side, that you can be successful. You can have all these things minus the addiction. You're going to have to put in some work, and you're going to have to do the tough things, but it is good, and you have joy, and you have all these things. That's another thing that I was going to talk about, is another preconceived notion that I had coming into recovery was, you mean I'm going to have to work this program, so to speak, for the rest of my life? That sounds terrible. That sounds like something I don't want to do. And you're like, I got to go to these meetings, I got to do this and that, and I got to talk to these guys, and not drink over this for the rest of my life. And that was daunting. That was insurmountable to me. I cannot see myself doing this program. But really what it is in MARR, you practice all these things, going to meetings, being vulnerable with people, being a contributing member of society again. And then it just becomes second nature. It becomes more of a way of life than, you're working this program. We say that a lot, working this program. But it really is it's now the things that I want to do and that I should be doing. So it's not really work. It's my life now, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
So your job is to kind of facilitate the alumni coming around and making sure people stay connected after they leave, if they want to stay connected. And so that involves what exactly? Like events?
Yeah, events, social media, follow-up calls, just inviting people, because we have meetings here, whether it's a 12-step meeting or a professionals group or an aftercare group, a spiritual life group. We do those on Monday and Wednesdays, where we talk about struggles we're having and apply spiritual principles to those things. Huge for me.
And I think that's something that's pretty unique about MARR. I think that's something that's pretty unique about MARR, the level of alumni involvement. It's pretty, the amount of people that stay connected decades sometimes after coming through treatment here. I don't think a lot of people realize that when they're checking into treatment, that I could be connected with this place. It could be a big part of my recovery, even when I'm 30 years sober, like it is for some people.
Well, that is another kind of counterintuitive thing. It's like, wait, you want to stay connected to your rehab? That sounds like something that I don't want to be involved in, right? But it's something right now that I completely want to be involved in. I get it. Yeah. And it was said to me when I got here, allow yourself to be here. Just relax, take it all in, and then stay connected. Because those who stay close to MARR stay sober. And I don't mean just geographically close. Well, I did that. But those who stay connected stay sober. And I've seen it over and over and over. Those who drift away and then don't show up, and then maybe they're experiencing some shame that something happened, like a relapse, and they don't show back up, and they're struggling. But those who come back, those who stay connected, really do stay sober. It's pretty amazing. They told me, stay close to MARR and you will stay sober. Yeah, we have a huge alumni base, and from all walks of life. It's not just one type of person that comes in here. There's like personalized treatment, and MARR helps everybody, and we have a huge alumni base that is passionate about MARR, and because there's something special here. Earlier I was talking about that MARR magic. There is something special about this place. Yeah. One of the things that I took out of this one group when I first got here that really meant a lot to me was somebody said to me that we're not bad people trying to be good. We're sick people trying to get better. And that meant a lot to me because I felt kind of like a bad person, I've been doing all these bad things. These things that I said I would never do. And I'm just a sick person trying to get better. And MARR helped me get better. Put in a lot of work. Mm-hmm. But I feel pretty better.
Good. All right, man. Yeah. Thank you so much, Nick.
Thank you, man.
This has been a pleasure.
It's so good to be here. Yeah. So good to talk with you. And, our ultimate goal here is just to, for me, it's just to help other people, right? Mm-hmm. That's all I want to do is just help other people. And if what I said can just get to one person to help them, maybe just push them over the edge, maybe I'll try that treatment thing. That's what I'd say is just have the willingness to try. What's the worst thing that can happen? It's going to get better than it is right now, because right now it's probably not so good. For me, it was not good. And I don't know what tipped me, but I just had that little bit of willingness, and I got here, and it saved my life.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man.
Thank you, man.
All right, that's it for this episode of Stories of Recovery. Thank you so much for joining us. If you or somebody that you care about is struggling with addiction, please feel free to reach out to our assessment counselors. They'd be glad to talk with you. It's totally free and it's totally confidential. The number to reach them at is 678-736-8694. Also, if you'd like to reach out through our website, you can do that at marrinc.org. That's marrinc.org. We have a chat feature and a contact form. You can reach out to them that way. And if you're an alumni that wants to get involved, please feel free to reach out to Nick. You can email him at alumni@marrinc.org. Again, I'm Matt Shedd. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're already looking forward to next time.